Man, Anthony Davis is hurt again. The hottest teams in the league are both in New York, and Giannis says an all-international team would destroy the U.S. team. I'm Rosa Panda. This is a Clinic All-NBA podcast. I have the two hooligans with me. JJ, how you living, my friend?
Feeling good, feeling great, ready for the holidays. How about you and you?
I'm good, man, and I'm ready too. Sammy, how you living, my friend?
Having a holly jolly holiday, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. And you know what? Argentina just won the World Cup. Lionel Messi finally gets the thing that he has always desired. And you know what? I'm going to spin this in a basketball way. I want to ask you guys, what is the NBA equivalent of Messi winning the World Cup this year?
Ooh, I'm going to say, Sammy, Steph winning Finals MVP last year, dude.
Oh, interesting.
Redemption time.
Going retro.
Yeah.
So you're going with like all the accolades that like Steph already had, but he never reached that MVP status. Is that the thing?
He needed the one hardware to shut people up. And now Messi has that hardware like Steph.
I like that. Sammy, what do you think, man?
Well, as much as the homer in me wants to say Paul George winning the NBA championship and destroying the playoff P narrative forever, which he already did, thank you very much. Oh man, this is a tough one. Since we're going to talk about him later and he's been so loyal, why don't we say Dame winning the NBA title? I think that would be universally praised. I don't think he'd get hated on at all from anybody. He would just be universally lauded for doing that.
You know, the one that I came up with was actually if AI was like in the twilight of his career and he was still like the number one dude and he got a title at the end. And for whatever reason, NBA championships were only played like 4 times a year. Or sorry, every 4 years. Which it doesn't. Anyway, I just thought it was interesting to think about. But in the same spirit, we're going to talk about Giannis Antetokounmpo here. He was on Serge Ibaka's show, How Hungry Are You? And he said that the top 5 international players would beat the top 5 USA players. And this is the list he came up with. For USA, he has Steph, Clay, KD, LeBron, and Adebayo. And for international, he has Luka, Evan Fournier, himself, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jokic, and Joel Embiid. So with the current construction of what Giannis came up with, he said that they would destroy the USA team. Do you guys agree with him?
There's 2 Warriors on that squad. Jay, you want to kick this off?
It's pretty bold that he put Clay up there. I'm just going to say.
A former third one as well. There's KD.
Yeah,
There's KD.
I don't know. I think Giannis kind of brain farted. He missed a couple of our, when I say our, US's best players. You could probably, sorry Clay, you know you're my boy, but I gotta do this, man. You could probably replace Clay with Tatum. Is that a fair trade, fellas?
Yeah.
I would have gone Tatum, or if it was pure 2 guard, I would have considered Booker in that spot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I know that might give you some pain there, but
yeah, I mean, yeah, you can't argue with that. You could have included Ja Morant in the US list, and I know you mentioned Devin Booker. How about Kawhi? Your boy.
is there load management in this game?
But JJ, in the spirit of the question though, he already proposed the 5. Who he thinks is the best 5 on each side. Does that international team whoop the USA team?
You know what I'm gonna say, man? USA. No, I'm gonna say this. Speed kills.
Yeah.
We have better defense, all around better defense, and our guards, I think, are a lot better in a sense of what the chemistry with the best players could go around with. Like Luka's more ball dominant, Giannis is ball dominant. Embiid is ball dominant. But you could have Steph, Clay, KD all work off the ball. And LeBron's one of the best passers in the game. USA, baby.
Sammy.
Well, we on the international team, I'm kidding. Well, first of all, no disrespect intended here, but doesn't Evan Fournier kind of feel like the equivalent of Christian Laettner on the Dream Team in this scenario? I'm just going to throw that out there.
He's the add-in.
He kind of. No offense, dude. I mean, I'm just saying you're not playing for the Knicks right now, last I checked. It's just weird that he's on this list.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? If Giannis has respect for him, then Giannis knows better than me. But yeah, in the same comparison Jay made, I'm looking at where the advantages for the international team lie, and you got to figure, first of all, size, right? But the problem with that is, as skilled as Jokic is, and I've sung his praises on this podcast multiple times, size-wise, he's not really going to be able to take advantage of LeBron because of LeBron's athleticism, so it kind of negates that there. I would say the way these teams are constructed, like you were saying, JJ, I think the American team will play better together because all of those guys on some level know how to play without the ball. And defensively, that backcourt, Luka and Fournier, that's a rough defensive backcourt. So let's go with the Americans -2.5 on the opening line.
Ooh, with the line, I love it.
Yeah. -2.5.
I completely agree with you guys, with the caveat that they actually are playing full court and not half court. If they're playing half court, that international team would be dominant. But I want to ask you guys, so he made up this list, right? JJ, you already gave a suggestion of who you would replace on the USA team. Sammy, I'm going to ask you now, is there anyone else that you would replace in the top 5 that Giannis came up with?
So, you know what? It's funny you say that. I was trying to look because I remember a couple of players qualified for the Canadian team, and I was trying to remember who they were. Is Anthony Edwards on that list? I believe he is.
I want to say yes.
So, again, no disrespect here, but if he does, you got to put him in the 2 spot in Fournier's place. That was the first one that popped in my head. He adds an element of athleticism to that team that I think would help a lot, especially because obviously Luke is amazing, but he could use a kind of a dynamic player in the backcourt with him. So that was the first player that I thought of. Outside of that, on that international team.
We weren't talking about Anthony Edwards, by the way, because Anthony Edwards is actually from Atlanta. It was SGA.
Oh. There you go. Okay, I knew that there was a really young star guard out there that would fit that spot. So you could put SGA there and call him a 1 and a 2. It doesn't really matter at this point. I think that's the player that I would probably slot in there. On the American side, we talked about, I love Clay too, but he's the most replaceable one of that starting 5, without a doubt. And you could pick Kawhi, Tatum, Brown if you want to add another defensive player, Booker. There's a lot of options there. So I appreciate that Giannis probably came up with this list off the top of his head, but there's definitely some interchangeable parts, I think. Outside of Fournier, though, for the international team in particular, I think that's the only spot in question. Those other 4 guys are staying on that team.
That is
Would SGA move the needle for either one of you? And we kept the USA team the way it is.
Yeah.
With the international team, would you guys kind of lean towards the international team a little bit more?
It would make it interesting, but I don't know. Steph, KD, LeBron. I think you could put anyone next to those 3, and they'll be so dominant. I want to see Giannis win another championship to solidify his throne. Steph and LeBron have done it multiple times. KD has done it multiple times.
And the crazy irony of this for me, because this is obviously a fantasy scenario of this 5-on-5, but I know, and forgive me, Fournier, I'm sorry. I know I keep talking about replacing him, but the irony of that is if you take him out of there, there's a little bit of a lack of 3-point shooting on that international team.
Yeah.
As good as SGA is, there's a lot of shot creation, and there's a lot of great passing, but there's not necessarily a lot of shooting. So I do think that would affect them because, as you guys said, 3 of these guys played in the Warriors system. They know how to move without the ball. LeBron's as good a playmaker as we've seen since Magic. I mean, Adebayo literally just has to sit under the rim and collect lobs and rebounds, and that team just fits better together. So it's ironic that Giannis put them together and said the international team would destroy the U.S. team.
And in a full court game, you have all team gets out of breath easily with Luka, Jokic, and Embiid. I'm just saying.
All team breathe hard.
Yeah, breathe hard.
Less cigarettes in the locker room. Less cigarettes in the locker room.
I just want to say that the international team, they are so dominant with bigs, dude. Like with Giannis, Jokic, and Embiid, and like the best one that we could come up with was Bam Adebayo. No disrespect to Bam Adebayo, but he's not the MVP caliber player that these other international players are. And to think, next year this list is going to change because the international team gets Scoot Henderson, and they also get Victor Wembanyama. So this international surge that we're getting in the NBA is absolutely something to watch. I think that's really the point that Giannis Antetokounmpo was trying to get across. But we're going to take this to some basketball news here, some current news. Anthony Davis, man, once again hurt, and I don't know how he got hurt. It's like he jumped up in the air and somehow tweaked his ankle when it didn't even look like it was tweaked. But apparently, he underwent an MRI on Saturday after leaving Friday night's victory over the visiting Denver Nuggets, and I guess he's still going to go for more tests. So we don't really know what's up here. What do you guys think of AD missing some time for the Lakers here?
Oh, this is just bad news. This could have arguably been the season where he had a strong push for MVP, and he was putting up MVP numbers and carrying that Lakers squad that the 3 of us have really criticized, especially within the last 2 seasons. And it just sucks. The injury, when I did look at the highlight or low light, I should say, over and over again, it wasn't even from coming down. It was when he was jumping up and he got caught on Jokic's leg from what it looked like. And it just, it's just really bad. With AD getting injured, it just comes back to the question that Laker fans have been asking, which is, do we trade for AD? And if we do trade for AD, my question to you 3 is, wouldn't the best time to trade him, isn't it now while his value is this high? Do you think that he could get any healthier? Because we've never seen him play like this, and he actually had a stint where he's actually playing really good and being healthy, and boom, just like that, he's injured. The best ability is what? Availability. And Sammy, kind of sucks that you could feel those words. We feel those words too over here, and as Warrior fans, you feel it as Clipper fans and Laker fans. Ever since the championship, the injury woes have not been well to them. So I don't know. I feel that they should keep their options open. They got to determine if they could win with AD, or can they get some contributing piece to help out LeBron. Or, I'm going to say it again and again, I haven't shifted my viewpoint on this. Trade Westbrook. Yeah. Do it now. That you have LeBron and Westbrook taking over $80 million in cap. Is Westbrook providing you those numbers? Is he worth that return on investment? That's the question.
Pretty high paid sixth man. In my opinion. Yes. I mean, collect that check, dude. But
yeah.
Hey, Sammy, go ahead.
Hey. Well, it's kind of convenient that John had to miss this episode knowing we were going to talk about AD.
I know. Shout out to John.
I kid, sort of. It's rough, man. I mean, this is the best we've seen him play. Since their title year? Maybe even since his Pelicans days? This last stretch of a month and a half? Yeah. And I would have looked to trade him too. I do think this depresses his trade value a bit because for anyone who's interested in him, This is the reminder that he gets hurt all the time. It's going to hit you in the face again.
You are a hater.
I think I'm just a realist.
That was John, by the way. John stepped into the pod real quick.
Stop it.
So
You are a hater.
So it's just, I would listen. I would definitely take calls. I think right now, though, you see how the team does for whatever multiple weeks is that he's going to miss. They're 13 and 17 right now. And I think if the game's not over yet, I think they're about to lose to Phoenix. So we're recording this on Monday night. I think you see where you're at in a few weeks. If you're back at like the 12 or the 13, then it's just time. You got to get what you can get. Mm-hmm. With Westbrook, I completely agree on trading him as long as you don't take on money for players that you're not that interested in as long-term pieces. Like, not for taking on money for the sake of that, but I think most of us are still realistic that at best this team was a fringe playoff play-in team. This is going to be a firm reminder that as of this year, Davis has been the best player on this team. As good as LeBron is, this year, this version of Davis is the best players. So if they fall down the standings like we think, then yeah, you got to at least try to recoup some assets here. And if someone is willing to offer you near one-to-one value for Davis, I just don't see how you can take it, or how you can't take it. So, June, what do you think?
I am thinking the same thing. For the most part, I don't know what Anthony Davis's value is here, right? The only situation that I could see where Davis could go to that would be interesting would be the Boston Celtics. I know that Robert Williams is, also injury riddled, but you kind of need some insurance at that position as well, because when he's not playing, you're not really that top 5 defensive team that you were last year. And we see that. I don't know, man. I don't know what to do with that scenario. I think I'm more leaning where JJ's leaning, where it's like you gotta trade pieces around that and maybe hold on to Davis. I don't know if JJ was quite saying that, but hope he gets healthy enough for next year and build around him. And this doesn't exclude LeBron in this scenario, because he's also getting older. Anyway, I wish John was part of this conversation, because I'm sure he'd have some words to say about what I'm saying right now. Do you guys think that LeBron would be off the table, let's say, if the Lakers went on a downspin because of this injury?
No, I don't think he's off. Well, yeah, I do think he's off the table.
Off the table, okay.
He's off the table. He brings too much money to that arena. He is the superstar in the NBA. Even though he's not, playing at that level that we used to see, he's still that dude, though.
From a basketball perspective, he should not be off the table, because when you are a team that's not in the playoffs, unless you have a 20-year-old or 21-year-old bona fide future star, I don't think anyone should be off the table. Because if you're that bad and you don't have young talent, something's wrong. You need to change your dynamic.
Right.
From a business perspective, though, I agree. I just don't think you can trade the guy. And because of the money he generates, because of who he is, because of his legacy, you don't want to be the team that's known for trading that kind of talent. So
yeah.
The only GM I can think of that would actually do that is probably like Danny Ainge.
Yeah, Danny Ainge would trade anybody. So I agree with you there. But I don't think they would do it. But yeah, how can anyone... I hate to say it, there's no keepers on the team. Like, outside of, if you go after the top 2, everyone's interchangeable. So, yeah, with LeBron, if it was purely basketball, I think he would be. But I agree. Yeah. I don't think he's on the table because of who he is.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what the Lakers have in store after this AD injury. But we're going to take a short little break with a word from our sponsor.
The NBA season is heating up, and there are still so many unknowns. When I'm looking to get in on the action, I bet with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. New customers can bet just $5 pregame moneyline on any NBA team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do.
Download the app now. Sign up with code TBPN. Place a $5 pregame moneyline bet on any NBA team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. That's code TBPN only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details.
Wow.
Wow, indeed. We are going to now talk about the hottest teams in the NBA.
Wow.
And they're both in New York. It's the
Ooh.
New York Knicks and the Brooklyn Nets. And the Nets have won 10 of their last 11 and are now 4th in the East. The Knicks have won 7 in a row and 8 of 10, now placing 6th in the East. I'm going to ask this question first. Which of these two teams do you believe in the most? I don't understand why this question is so funny.
As well as crazy as this is to say, because it's the team with Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
To me, it's got to be Brooklyn, and it's got to be Brooklyn because they have one of the best 4 players on the planet on the team, and at the end of the day, you got to go with the talent, right?
Yeah, you're not talking about Kyrie?
Not even a little bit. I do not rely on Kyrie anymore. I'm glad he's playing well. I hope that he stays healthy and plays the rest of the year, but it's almost like a bonus. But KD's on his game right now, man. He's 26 points in the third quarter last night against Detroit, or 2 nights ago against Detroit. I mean, he's playing like KD, man. If he stays healthy, then on any given night, they can beat anybody. So I have to look at them as the more legitimate contender, just because the playoffs typically comes down to your best players playing better than the other team's best players. It's not about scheme at that point, to a certain extent, right? So
Yeah. I'm going to have to agree with Sammy.
Yeah.
And just to add some narratives to the Nets kind of regular season drama, did you guys read what Harden said about his former teammates, saying that you're calling me the quitter when the other guy on that team, the superstar on that team, requested a trade?
Ooh,
Shots
I did
at
not.
Durant. But what I do like is that, hey man, you left the situation in Brooklyn, and KD and Kyrie are kind of proving everyone wrong, including myself. They're proving me wrong. I didn't know that they were gonna come out strong like this. I don't know if it's because of Steve Nash leaving. I don't know if it's because they're highly motivated, but I'm just gonna say, from what I see, it's because, surprise, surprise, Kyrie is playing in a consistent basis. Who would have thought they would be winning with those superstars if he was playing? Just
You mean
saying.
to tell me that playing builds chemistry and
Yeah.
that leads to winning? That's so strange, man.
Crazy.
wow.
You are
I'm gonna
a
take
hater.
I'm gonna take a little victory lap here. I know it's not, maybe a half lap, because I did say that I believe that the Brooklyn Nets would actually make the playoffs. And I think on this panel we had a lot of play-in or out of the playoffs voting. And you know what? Kevin Durant, man. I want to
Yeah.
tell you guys his averages for the last 10 games here, okay? He's scoring 32 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and get this, his field goal percentage, 63%. His three-point percentage, over 50%. Absolutely ridiculous efficiency. If Kevin Durant continues on a tear like this, okay, does he have the proper narrative to win MVP if the Nets get maybe the top 3 seeds?
Definitely. I mean, if they finish top 3 with all the drama and it's behind him, you gotta put him up there. I think honestly the only thing that would legitimately hurt him is that he made the trade request, and the people who vote for this are the press and the media, and they'll remember it. And that frankly he's come off as not the most likable dude anymore, but hopefully they would not include that in their survey of his play, because his play's been incredible, and if he drives that team to top 3, top 4, then he's got to be in the conversation at minimum, if not a top 2 or 3 candidate. Don't you guys think?
I would say so. These numbers are insane. I
Yeah.
just want to say this, the rematch between the Celtics and the Nets. which would be really cool to see. Like, because Tatum's on the rise, KD's has held that spot on the top, and the Celtics, they whooped on the Nets last season. But you know, the people that watch that game, they're gonna say that the Celtics had more talent, like all around talent, while the Nets had top heavy talent. Some of the Nets fans though, they're saying that it was Steve Nash's fault. KD's saying that. Kyrie's saying that.
Yeah.
Maybe they're gonna prove that point right.
Well, they sure are looking right now, at least, and we'll see how that plays out. But can someone explain to me the other side of the coin here? How are the Knicks winning these games?
So, I don't want to simplify this too far, but there is one major factor that's changed a lot in the last 6 or 7. RJ Barrett came around, and he was struggling horribly at the start of this year. He was shooting, I want to say, in the high 30s percentage-wise. Couldn't get his 3-ball going. The last 5 games, shooting right around 50% from the field, about 25, 26 points a game.
Yeah.
The rebounding numbers have been there, 5 or 6 a game. He's been actually distributing it somewhat well, like 3-4 assists a game. Just his whole game looks like it stepped up. It's like he figured out either how to play with Brunson. Randall and Brunson have figured each other out. But hopefully this is a stretch where he just kind of put things together, because we know the talent is there, but it's definitely correlated as far as I can see, just based on the numbers on the page. He woke up and that team suddenly got a lot better. So hopefully he keeps it going, because the talent is there.
Yeah, what's really interesting too, Sammy and Jin, is that lineup with Randall, Brunson, Robinson, Barrett, and Grimes, right now that's the second best lineup by net rating. So they're third in the league in offensive rating, and defensive rating, you know, they need to work on, which is at 107. But to have the second best lineup by that net rating is pretty crazy. And I know Sammy touched on RJ Barrett, who now plays with the second unit, which has helped them propel into winning with that winning streak at 7. But who would have thought, fellas, Brunson is playing like an all-star. I know that when he did sign that contract with the Knicks, a lot of people were just saying it's a lot of money for someone that isn't maybe worth that much, but he's kind of making that value worth it for the Knicks. And I'm going to say that the Mavs do miss him, right?
Yeah,
that
definitely.
Shot creation and that kind of like alleviate that pressure off of Luka. But now this dude is just playing like a true point guard, like a mini Mark Jackson, I want to say.
Yeah, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head, JJ. The Mavs definitely miss him a lot, but we're actually going to take it to the next topic here. We have to talk about what Dame Lillard said in recent days. This is a quote here. He said, "Obviously, I think Steph is the greatest ever, but I think after him, I don't see why I'm not the I don't see why I'm not clear cut in that decision." He's talking about being second to him, not just by makes, but how I shoot it, how I make the tough ones all the time, how easy I shoot the ball. I'm looking forward to keep climbing the list so I could get up there to the top 2, top 3. I'm curious to see what people will say about me as a shooter at that point. And he says that he's the second best shooter in NBA history next to Steph Curry. Do you think Dame Lillard is accurate in his statement here?
I have so much respect for Dame's ability as a shot maker, especially from clutch shot making, but I can't. I don't know exactly where I'd slot him. I think I'd put him 4, 5, 6, somewhere in that area. But to me, just from a pure shooter perspective, I think Ray Allen is number 2 on that list. Number 3, I gotta go Larry Bird. I mean, and just to put it in perspective, I was looking at Bird's stats. Remember when he played, which was the bulk of the 80s, I'd say a good three-point shooter back then roughly was about 34, 35%, give or take. Mm-hmm. In his last 6 years that he played consistently, outside of 1 year, he was over 39, 40% from deep every year. That was unheard of back then. So you can't compare the stats just straight up between the 80s and this generation because the game has evolved so much. So I think that plays into it. But
Exactly.
yeah, so I mean, so much respect for Dame and what he's done, particularly, like I said, as a shot maker at the end of games, because not a lot of players can hit the shots that he does, especially with how tough they are. But 2, I think, is a little high. I got him at 4 or 5. Where do you have him, Jay?
Dude, I know I'm gonna come off as a hater, as LeVar Ball would say.
You are a hater.
But if we're going off statistics, I know Dame is probably gonna pull this out of his pocket, which is for any game to shoot above 10 plus attempts, only him and Steph have shot over 40%, which is insane. But Sammy, you hit the nail on the head on that one, which is like the game has totally changed. Like, if Jordan played in today's era, I don't think the three of us would argue that Jordan would work on his three-point game.
Definitely.
Would you guys agree with that?
100%.
Yeah.
So
If an analytics person went up to Jordan and said, "You got to shoot more threes," he'd be like, "All right,"
yeah,
and just be hella good at it.
he would just
Yeah.
add it. Same with Kobe, like all the greats. When I think of shooters, I know a lot of people are probably not gonna like this answer against Dame, but I love Reggie Miller's game. So what's the argument against Reggie Miller? Never made an all NBA first or second team, when Dame has made it to one first all NBA team and 4 second team all NBAs, right? Dame was considered MVP a few times, just considered, but Reggie never. These are all things that people are going to argue against Reggie Miller, but you know what Reggie Miller has over Dame? The shots when it counts, which is playoffs. I know people are going to pull out the Dame shot at OKC, but hey man, Reggie Miller gave Jordan a headache and pushed that man to game 7.
Yeah.
Game
absolutely.
7. So I don't know. You guys know that I'm a big fan of Dame. I love his game.
You loved it.
How about it? Yeah, I love Dame. How about is it okay if I reserve my judgment till this dude actually retires?
Yes.
Right? I don't know. I'm gonna say like Sammy, like maybe 3 or 4. Larry Bird, Reggie, Ray Allen, even Clay. I know people may not like that too, but are we talking about pure shooter? Because if it's pure
That's what he
shooter,
said.
what pure shooter by definition, right? Like the stroke, the efficiency, the numbers. Clay got it on you, brother. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree. The only thing that I'm going to say about Dame Lillard, where he's elite in shooting, is clutch time. He's got the clutch stats. He's up there, definitely. Another one though, which I think he might be even better than Steph Curry, is deep threes. So we're talking beyond 30 feet. And there's stats out there where Steph Curry, I think this was last year, they total all of them together. He shot that deep three at a 28.9% clip. But Dame Lillard shot it at a 33.7% clip, which is the highest ever. So, I mean, I'm going to give that to him. But greatest shooter of all time? Second to Curry? I don't think so, man. I don't think so. But I will say this. At least he recognizes who's number 1.
Oh yeah.
That's what I'm saying. But anyway, that's all we have for tonight's pod. I want to thank you two for being on. JJ, thanks for being on, man.
Thank you, everyone. Happy early Christmas.
Sammy, thanks for being on, man.
Thank you. Happy holidays to all. Enjoy the season with friends and family.
And of course, shout out to our video producer, RJ, and shout out to John, who's missing from the pod today. Check out our YouTube channel. Remember to rate, subscribe, and review. Like us on our Facebook group page, The Clinic All NBA Podcast, and follow us on Twitter at Clinic All NBA. I'm Rosa Panta. This is Clinic All NBA Podcast. Come find us wherever you get your podcasts.